I literally just recorded a whole 15 minutes of planets in the first house, and I was disturbed by my brothers, but hopefully they get the message now. Anyway, hello and welcome back to the Jules with Gem podcast. I am your host GiGi, and I hope you're well. If you're new, welcome. I'm honored to have you here, and if you're returning, I'm humbled to have you back. And to all my new subbies, welcome. You are the VIPs indeed, and thank you ever so much for the support. So as you might have noticed, I'm starting a new series called Planets in the Houses. So if you're not familiar with the houses and their energy, then I'd suggest watching my previous videos where I talk about the houses in depth and individually to get a comprehensive understanding of what it is that I am talking about. Also, check out my videos where I talk about the planets individually to understand the energies of the planets when they are in certain houses. But that's also what I'm going to be talking about today, so don't despair. So of course I'm going to start off with the first house naturally, so as not to confuse anybody and cause unnecessary tension. So the first house is essentially the start of the birth chart. It's the sign that was ascending at the time of your birth, and the ascendant is actually quite important. The first house is very important because that is what will determine the overall course of your chart. That is what will determine the last house of your chart, and it also determines where your planets will be placed. So, just because you're a Pisces or a Capricorn doesn't really indicate much. Because yes, we know Pisces to be the 12th sign, but it doesn't mean that just because Pisces is the 12th sign that Pisces will be in your 12th house. Pisces could be in your 5th house, depending on which sign was actually ascending at the time that you were born. So it's very important to know your ascendant so you can kind of automatically know where your planets would then fall if you know what signs your planets are in, right? So if you're a Capricorn sun, the same thing. Just because Capricorn is the 10th planet does not mean that your sun in Capricorn is going to be in the 10th house. It all just depends on your ascending sign. So, check your chart, and I don't know how many times I'm going to emphasize that, but checking your natal birth chart is extremely important for you to just become more aware of self and to just kind of know the different types of energies that influence you, and also just finding a deeper understanding of the people around you as well. Because if someone is a Sagittarius and you have Sagittarius in the 8th house, it would kind of make you understand why Sagittarians may make you feel uncomfortable, or why they're always wanting to do good things for you, or why they may trigger certain parts of you, or why you find healing in them, or there's a whole variety of things that really could go either way. But it's just important to kind of know what's going on in your chart so that you can understand the people around you a whole lot better. So even if we look at the sun, for example, if you understand the essence of the sun's energy, you would then know that the sun in astrology is the life force, and it kind of denotes to how and where you should focus your energy.
Planets in the first house, let's go.
So sun in the first house is ruled by Mars, which rules the sign of Aries. So it loves being in this house as its energy is expressed in the best way. So if your sun is in the first house, that would mean that there is a focus on developing the self. The parts of the self that need improvement will be determined by the aspects that are made to the sun. So for example, if you have sun being aspected by Neptune, then it would mean improving the way in which you see the world, or the ways in which the world sees you, because the image that you may be projecting isn't quite clear, or it just may confuse people, or that you yourself may be quite idealistic when it comes to who you are and who people think you are, or that you're just mysterious, majestic, and just severely misunderstood. But it's quite hard to be yourself in a world that really doesn't understand you. And Neptune is quite a nebulous energy, so you would want to get that sorted out, because it may make you prone to not doing the right things, especially if it's badly aspected. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, Then you have aspects to Uranus. If they're made from Uranus to your sun, or the sun to Uranus, then it could make you very unique, quite quirky. You may be different just in the way that you dress, or different in your physicality, like the way that you look. You might have distinctive eyes, head shape, nose shape, just physically, or even your hairstyle, just something that makes you physically different. When the sun is in the first house, you're just a natural leader. You were born to stand out and shine, and you need a lot of freedom to be yourself. I think this is the most important lesson for this. If you do have this, if your sun is in the first house, I think it's extremely important to have liberty to be able to express yourself the way that you want to express yourself, period. That is just the main thing here. Your energy should be focused on expressing yourself, period. So, I think the negative part is just not being able to distinguish between the needs of the ego and the needs of the soul, or and it also depends, because if the sun is aspected badly, then it also means that you may be quite arrogant, or you may be quite selfish. And those are the themes that you might need to address before your success can actually be attained. So definitely a lot of focus on self, a lot of focus on how you project your energy to other people, a lot of energy on how you perceive yourself as well, because how you think about yourself is exactly how you are going to project yourself to others. So let it be a positive influence, because the sun in the first house is a positive influence. It is an energy that brings light to others. So moon in the first house, the moon is associated with our emotions, as the moon itself rules over the tides in the ocean. And that's definitely something that changes and fluctuates and goes through different intensity levels. So we can't always be happy, we can't always be sad, we can't always be depressed, we can't always be in a state of limbo, right? So there's a time to feel every emotion throughout the day. Some emotions take a bit longer, of course, I'm not going to deny that, but you will constantly be moving in between emotions, good or bad, indifferent, it is what it is. And I think that's the reason why people who are ruled by the moon, that being Cancers or just Cancer moon people, or even Cancer dominant people, can be considered moody, because they just go through a whole series of emotions, the same as everyone else, but I think they're just a little bit more honorable to their emotions. They're a little bit more honest and candid about the way that they feel. They always wear, their feelings on their sleeve, so everybody can know like how they're feeling about something. And this is, I always think about that saying, if looks could kill, this is definitely the energy of Cancer. So if looks could kill, if they're looking at you and they're happy, then you definitely know that they're happy. There's definitely not going to be an in-between there. They look at you and they look sad or angry, you'll definitely know what's up with them. So it's unlike the sun. They may be a little bit more sensitive to the opinions of other people. So, let me just leave that there. And I just think moon in the first house kind of makes you very relatable to people, because you're quite down to earth. Sort of the human psychology of humans in general. So it just makes you easier to talk to. It makes you relatable. But also in the same breath, it's difficult for people to keep up with your emotions, or for you personally to even keep your emotions in check, for the reasons that I've just mentioned. And I think what I like about this energy is that it's straightforward. The approach is quite straightforward. You will always know how they feel at any given time, and you just won't be left wondering about anything. Like, if you didn't do anything wrong, then they're not moody because you changed their mood. They are obviously being honest to their soul. They are being honest to themselves, and how they are feeling at any given time. And I think that honesty is very much overlooked. So Venus in the first house, the planet of love in the first house, or even aspecting the first house, definitely makes you, yes, very beautiful, very handsome, very sociable. But I think the most important trait here is that it makes you extremely calm and poised. This gives you a lot of grace. This is definitely the glue that holds everything together, literally. Venus here makes you incredibly well liked, but I think also quite diplomatic in your approach. And I think because of this, you may be prone to jealousy because people just can't comprehend how you're able to be so calm, how you're able to be so poised, how you're able to be so beautiful. It's just like every time they see you, it's just refreshing. It's literally just like seeing a new part of your face, literally, or part of, your physical body, or there's just something about you that just keeps on looking better and better and better every time people, come into contact with you, or anything that you may have to say, or anything that you may have to give that's of value. But anyway, you're just valuable, you're just that person that people feel like they can relate to. This also gives you an incredible amount of creativity. So in the first house, you could spend a lot of time just being creative with, how you dress, with your art, with your music, how you walk, how you speak. And a lot of people will appreciate this. So people appreciate it because they value it and they feel that it's authentic. So a lot of people will jump on the bandwagon and support you because they feel like you're authentic and they feel like people can relate to you. So if, for example, you're like a fashionista, you could be somebody that's like that goes and does photo shoots like everywhere. Like you may be a model for streetwear, you may really love vintage. Think about anything that's relatable in your world and how somebody with a Venus in the first house would relate to that, or would be able to project that image, into society, basically, because, if you think about it, the ascendant is what people first see. So Venus definitely does a damn good job at being authentic, and very popular to have Venus in this house. And I think this energy also makes you quite accepting of yourself and in turn other people. This is why other people actually like you, because you're accepting of others because you accept yourself first. So you definitely, you make your place known in the world, and you don't really look to anybody to kind of give you that affirmation because you've already given it to yourself. You're pretty transparent because of that. I think one thing to note though here is that it is okay to be vulnerable. This placement tends to not want people to see them sweat, because usually people always look up to them for answers, look up to them for inspiration or creativity. It is okay to say, I don't know. It is okay to be vulnerable and be like, "Hi guys, minangazi," and just keep it moving. There is somebody who will know, but don't forget that you are human. Mercury in the first house. Mercury in the first house would most probably give you the gift of the gab, an inclination to be quite quick-witted, funny, and just extremely insanely intelligent, or just being able to soak up concepts a lot faster than, the average person. Mercury is also an energy that is quite fast, so you probably eat fast, you probably walk fast, you probably talk fast, you probably just everything is just fast, and you're probably interested in 100,000 topics at once. Like you could literally just be chilling but be thinking about 100,000 different things. Like your mind is like a library. It has like different compartments, and each and every second a compartment makes up bubbles in your mind that you start thinking about. So compartment of, oh, what am I having for dinner is open, or oh, I need to go spend some time with whoever, or oh, I still need to get back to that phone call, or oh, I still need to read that message, or oh my gosh, my deadline for my assignment is tomorrow. So there's like constantly something going on in your mind, and because of that internal chaos, I'm just going to call it chaos for lack of a better word, that chaos tends to be then spilled out, or it spills out into your physical being, into your physical nature, into your ascendant energy. So a lot of people will spot this immediately about you. So to some degree, this could also make you quite prone to accidents. Not necessarily like, vehicle accidents or anything crazy like that, but just, perhaps cutting your finger while cooking, or knocking your funny bone while you're sweeping, or even just the odd tripping while you're walking, especially if your Mercury is natally retrograde. But that of course makes the energy different, but yes, it definitely relates to what it is that I'm talking about. So, if you're aware of the energy, it can make you extremely receptive and intuitive of your environment, and you could easily express your opinions on things to those around you and even to yourself. So you might be the type of person that's constantly having conversations with yourself about the different things that you're picking up on, because you're so, what's the right word? You're so easily stimulated. You're so easily stimulated by your environment that you literally pick up vibes. That's why I said it is an extremely intuitive energy. So yeah, that's probably why your mind works like, 360 k's an hour. So yeah, like I said, you easily express yourself, you talk quite fast, and you just have a lot to say about a lot of things, because you have an insatiable curiosity. But this is also something that you may need to look out for, because education can never be enough, knowledge can never be enough. So I think just take what resonates at that point in time in your life, because you'll always receive the information that you need to receive to make your life better. Up until you've learned the lesson of whatever it is that you've implemented in your life, that's when you can now go and learn other things that you may need to make your life even better than it was before. And I think it's also, because you're so fast in nature, I think it's also important that you just think before you speak, because sometimes the time it takes for something to pop into your head and out of your mouth, there's literally no time frame. It's like at a zero range. It's literally from 0 to 100 in less than no seconds. Mars in the first house, this definitely makes you quite striking. As soon as you get an idea in your head, before you even done visualizing it, you're just already out the door. You out the door already. You're just seeing how you can get started. You probably even have all your hands in all of the cookie jars. And you could even be looking at another cookie jar that is new and fresh and wanting to dig your hands into that too, even though you might have all of your hands full. So this is overall an active energy. As energy can be really, really impatient with itself, especially in the first house. You can just really be impatient with you not really being able to get things moving. So like, for example, if you've started a new diet, like you will literally get frustrated by not losing weight in the first week, or even in the first day, literally, to just emphasize the impatience levels. You might just be like, okay, I'm trying out this new skincare regime and my pimple is still not gone. Like, why? So the impatience levels is actually quite hilarious, but everything just needs to be done quickly with passion. And I think the only reason why Mars in the first house people do everything with passion is because they get bored quite easily. I mean, think of a fire. It literally starts off quite small and then it starts blazing, right? So their energy can only stay at a certain level for so long, before it starts to obviously burn out. So they need to get things done quickly while they still have that energy, while they still have that passion, that love, that ability to care and nurture for whichever project, before they run low on energy and they lose their interest altogether. So I think that's the only reason why they constantly want to get things out there, not constantly pushing to get things out there. Basically, it's just constantly a race of passion, boredom. So like I said, overall an active energy. They just want things to go their way and quite quickly, and I have explained why. So even, for example, if you're involved like in a project with other people, like the Mars in the first house person might even override the team leads like final say. So like, let's say the team leads say, okay, we are going to be going left with this project. The Mars in the first house person might feel that, okay, us going left is not really going to serve the purpose of this team or what we're trying to achieve. I think it's best that we go left, kind of a thing. And yeah, you can see how that can obviously lead to issues when dealing with teamwork, especially. And I think sometimes it's just better for them to work on their own, because they don't have to deal with that conflict where they might come across as too assertive or too aggressive, or just, let me just be frank and say bossy. So it's yeah, that can definitely lead to issues. So people see you as very confident in yourself and your abilities, which will definitely get you very far. However, you just need to, tone it down a little bit to not come across as overly aggressive or just extremely assertive, like it's your way or the highway, or people perceive you as not wanting to listen to anybody else's ideas because your ideas are more bomb than others. That type of attitude is obviously not going to get you anywhere. You're probably not going to have any relationships, and although you might not really care what people think about you, we all need each other in life. So just be careful with that energy. But we definitely love your passion. We love your drive. We love the fact that, you go after the things that you want with so much passion and vigor and drive. This is definitely an Aries coming to the forefront. Maybe tone it down a lot, because obviously Mars is the natural ruler. So it's definitely going to be easy to burn out your energy. Jupiter in the first house is all that and more, literally. But Jupiter is definitely an awesome energy. This is a benefic planet, same as Venus, same as the sun. So, I think in the first house, you constantly ask yourself the deep questions that you need to be asking yourself. And the questions that you're asking are about yourself. So it's not you asking about external factors like, why am I here? It's more, why do I think I'm here? What is it? What are the types of things that I can do to fulfill my purpose based on the things that I am passionate about? Those are more the questions that a Jupiter in the first house person would be asking themselves, or it would be a consistent quest for self-discovery. So Jupiter obviously being the largest planet in our solar system, it could also indicate that your physical body, you may be quite large, or that you have just a big personality, or that you just live larger than life. You are just extremely impressionable. You take up space in the room, and there's just definitely nobody can say that, no, I did not notice that person, because your energy is just noticeable. You literally bring joy to people's life. You bring hope. You bring faith to people's lives, so that's definitely energy that people like to be around. And also you bring positivity, which I think is another thing to note. So you may be quite popular with this energy as well, because like I said, everybody wants to be around you, and you also provide a different perspective on almost everything. So who wouldn't want their mental brains being stimulated by, a difference in opinion? So, I think with this, it's just important because, Jupiter is a benefic planet. I really don't think that there's anything bad that you can say about it being in the first house, but I think it's just important to be aware of your limitations, because you can bite off a little bit more than you can chew with this energy. I have Sun square Jupiter, and yeah, this happens quite a lot. So, as people, because I can't do everything, but because I have Moon in Gemini, I think that I can do everything. But then my Sun square to Jupiter makes me realize very quickly that actually, no, sister, it's just not happening. So, as a person, I need to be aware, or you need to be aware of the things that you're good at, the things that you're bad at, and just try not to do everything all at once. Because a lot of the time I find that people with Jupiter aspects to their sun or their ascendant, it seems like they just want to get things done. They just want to show to people that, yes, I can do it all, but it's okay to delegate, guys. It's okay, It's also important to note that with this placement, once a sense of self has been identified, it's easier to unlock or to understand other parts of life. So if you spend an incredible amount of time asking yourself the important questions, then it's easy for you to unlock parts of life. So it would be easy for you to unlock success. It would be easy for you to motivate others. It would be easy to be an inspiration to others. It would be easy for you to find opportunities to travel, find opportunities, period, or even be connected to people that will be able to help you along this journey of life. I have a friend who has Jupiter in her first house, and sometimes my jaw is literally on the floor when I talk to her and I ask her, okay, so how has your month been? Because we do go through periods where we don't speak to each other for months. And she'd be like, oh my gosh, so I was at the mall and I met some random guy and he was like, oh, don't I know you from somewhere? And then realized that they met a couple of weeks before that, and the guy is probably a photographer. She's also creative. So now they literally in their car somewhere doing a road trip and taking pictures. And that's literally my friend's life. Like literally, she always finds herself to be at the right place at the right time. And you know, who wouldn't want that energy? It's really, really a dope energy. So Jupiter here generally just gives one good vibes. And you just usually just feel optimistic about yourself. Like even if you have, a weight problem, or even if you might have one of those bad days, you're definitely going to get to a point where you're just like, actually, I'm still a baddie, no matter what, or no matter which point of life I may be in. Even if I'm like severely depressed, you still have that thought at the back of your mind that, you know what, I'm going to get through this, I'm bigger than this. And you know, it's a dope energy to have. So all of you who have Jupiter in the first house, I hope you guys enjoy life. Uranus in the first house. So Uranus is an interesting energy to have in the first house, actually. Uranus, the same as Mercury, is quite fast. Although I do think it's like a shocking energy. This having Uranus in the first house definitely focuses on your authenticity. So what is it about self? What is it about me, or what is it about you that makes you different? And literally, Uranus in the first house, people want to be associated with people that are different. They probably want to be associated with people that are into astrology, people that are into astronomy, people that are shamans, people that are healers, people that are engineers, people that are actually doing some very phenomenal things in this world. So you can already imagine that this type of energy, it really focuses on not being classified. Like the more bizarre, the more weird, the more outlandish, the more unconventional, the more unorthodox. Yes, that is what they are about. They like things that people don't usually like. They talk about topics that people don't usually indulge in. They do things that people don't usually do. They are just different. They hate being classified or being categorized to be just a one-dimensional being, because they know that they are not. And if you do try and put them in a box, they will definitely be quite annoyed by that, because they do not like that. They already know that they're so different, and how dare you, the audacity of you to even classify them as just a one-dimensional being will have them So Uranus in the first house, this is an energy that is not inhibited by dogma. It really cares enough, about society to change how they feel about themselves. And I think Uranus in the first house people actually thrive when they cherish and when they acknowledge how different they are from other people. I think the challenge here is just not to let how different they are affect them negatively and make them seem like they are conceited, like they are like they have some sort of like a god complex. I think it's focusing on exploring your options instead of being categorized on who you think you are, because you can think that you know these people and they will immediately do a complete 360 on you and shock you while they at it. So never think that you know these people, because you really don't. Uranus is such a fast energy, and these people can generally get their aha moments or knowledge of self through thoughts, like flashes in thoughts. Or even things that people say. Sometimes they can get like clarification on something that's been bothering them through something that they read, a video that they might have seen on social media, or even something that they may have read in the media, or they just so blessed in that their answers come to them. It almost seems like magic, really. If they do have a problem with something, they will always be given answers to those problems. I think that's why they are such creative. They have a way of being creative with the way that they solve problems. And I think obviously this is why, because they don't really look for the solutions. The solutions more, a majority of the time, actually come to them, so they don't have to spend a lot of their energy looking for it. They will spend energy on focusing on other things while the solution comes to them, which is an amazing capability to preserve energy for when they actually do have the solution to the problem, because then they can spend energy on devising that solution and then bringing it forth to us, society, the rest of us, and humankind in general. So personal freedom, rebellion, and unconventional activities, hobbies, interests are definitely where it's at with this energy. Don't get it confused. So Neptune in the first house, this would literally make you a chameleon. I think it'd be very confusing to a lot of people. It's a very nebulous energy, and I always say nebulous energy in almost all of my YouTube videos about Neptune. I always say, or even Pisces for that matter, I always say that this is an energy that is not quite understood. This would really make you quite intuitive, very creative, and just mysterious, because people can see you but they can't really grasp you, so it ends up being that people can only experience you but not really ground you, if that makes sense. It's almost like trying to hold sand, because you can't. It's like sand goes through the hands, right? So I think when there's an acceptance of self and acceptance of others, that's when a compassion towards life takes place. And this is the planet really that can make it sometimes very difficult to accept or even face reality, because reality is very harsh compared to the ideals and the imagination that these people possess within them. So they are very disturbed by what is currently happening on Earth, or in this realm, this 3D realm that we are currently living in. They know that life is not supposed to be that way, and that's why a lot of the times people can say that they kind of live in their own world, because they know that in the other world, in the world that the rest of us cannot see, this is not how things are. Everything operates on love. Like, hate is not even a thing in other realms. So it does get difficult for them to deal with reality, and that's why they can be prone to addictions, whether that be drug addiction, food addiction, whatever type of addiction that may make them stay in a state of ignorance or in a state of bliss. Yeah, that is exactly where they will remain. So this energy can sort of distort things in reality. And in this house, I think it would be beneficial to keep or just remain above water, as this energy can literally drown you. It can drown you. But I think the awesome part about having Neptune here is that it enables you to accept what the divine plan is, as opposed to you just going against the grain and trying to figure it all by yourself. You're just able to just go with the flow. You're able to be like, okay, if the universe wants me to do this, then I'm going to do this. There is no mandate. There is no planning. There is no let me try and succumb to what the world wants me to do. No, they more look at the grand plan. And the grand plan is not going to come from parents or people outside of them. It's going to come from their guides, and that is exactly what they are going to follow. Also, be careful to not alienate yourself, from society, and because that's when you can also be prone to falling into these bad habits, and it can be very difficult to get rid of these bad habits in the long term. So Pluto in the first house. So this is quite heavy. I mean, even I feel heavy just talking about it. But Pluto in the first house is a very heavy, intense energy. If you have this, then you will consistently be reminded of your conscious and subconscious self. So it's like your light versus your dark, positive versus negative, and how to overcome and be accepting of the dark and subconscious especially. So if you're being honestly, nobody really wants to deal with the deepest, darkest parts of themselves unless we're forced to. So for example, unless I end up with the depression, unless you end up with being rehabilitated and so on. This energy forces you to deal with the ugly stuff. And if you don't, it tends to find other ways to get your attention. So with this energy, you really just have to get to a point where you're like, okay, I've been seeing this happening over and over and over again. I think at some point I need to succumb to this energy because clearly it's trying to show me something, it's trying to teach me something. So there will always be a focus on crisis and transformation. Power will be important to you. Security will be important to you. Intimacy will be important to you. Sexuality will be important to you. And with it being in the first house, there will always be a dismantling of your self-identity, your self-worth, what you think about yourself. If you're being true to yourself, most importantly, and if you're not being true to yourself, you could end up taking much longer to develop a more higher or even purer sense of self. And that is just the energy. That's just the energy of Pluto. Pluto, as much as it might seem destructive, it really just wants to tear everything down and find what's at the core. It's painful. It's very, very painful, and you might go through really intense and some really, really cruel experiences. But I think when you look back and once you've overcome the whole transformation, you start realizing that actually it was for you, it was for the better good. It was for your growth. It was for you to realize your actual purpose and how you can even step into your power as well, and owning your sexual power, owning your sexuality in general. Just being able to accept your power and an ability to heal others, because Pluto is a very healing energy. So when you heal yourself, you're able to heal others as well. And that's the good thing about it. But like I said, you need to succumb to this energy, because if you don't, it will be like being stuck in a loop, or a song on repeat, experiencing the same experiences with different people until you just get sick and tired of it. And with Pluto, it will leave no stone unturned. So it would just be best not to play with this energy, as you could really become somebody who's quite powerful towards yourself even and others in a very positive way if you honor what it's trying to teach you. So every now and then you will learn something new about yourself, and constant transformation is definitely a theme here. So you might be somebody who really doesn't trust people, so you might come across having relationships with people that betray you, until you get to a point where you're like, okay, maybe I need to change something within me that keeps attracting people that want to do me wrong. And then when you start working on that shadow work, that's when you start realizing that maybe there may have been some actions that may have been attributing to you attracting these kinds of people. So maybe you have been enabling people, to get away with things that are wrong, and you may have not been enforcing your boundaries and so on. So as soon as you keep, getting to the layer and peeling off these layers, you definitely get to the core of things that bother you, your traumas, energies, or even people that you'd like to get rid of. So this is an awesome energy. It makes you very, 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 a person that's just very intense, who doesn't mince their word. You either like people or you don't. There's really no in between with this energy. You either love or hate quite strongly. But if you can just get rid of the hate part, I think that would serve you in the best way. Saturn in the first house, also like Pluto, a very heavy energy. Saturn is a very stern energy. It's a mature energy. I feel like growing up, you may have experienced situations that may have made it hard to express yourself fully. or you may have even thought that it's quite embarrassing or it's quite silly to even just express yourself. Like you might have made fun of people that express themselves because you kind of have a deeper knowing that people just don't listen and people don't appreciate honesty. People don't appreciate when you express yourself in a way that is true and raw. And because of that, you think why do people even do that, right? So Saturn in our charts really represents where we may experience fear or even anxiety. And these are the two things that can be found in the self when it is in the first house. So you really have a fear and an anxiety of losing yourself or not knowing yourself. I think you have a lot of fear because you don't really know yourself. You may not know what you stand for. You may not know the things that you like because you shy away from what makes you human. You shy away from being vulnerable. You shy away from asking people for help. You shy away from and I kind of understand this energy with Saturn being in the first house and why it creates so much fear and so much paranoia. Sometimes when you do ask people for help, they always find ways of humiliating you in the process. So it's like if you ask somebody to help you, you may find that one day they just turn on you and they no longer want to be associated with you, or they kick you to the curb, or they don't even help you in the way that you feel you should be helped. It's a lot, guys. Like it's really a lot. But so, to other people, you may seem quite valuable, quite strong, quite capable, somebody who knows exactly what they want, somebody who knows exactly what they need to do. But when it comes to you and your needs, it's like you just don't know who you are. You don't even know the things that you like. Because you spend so much of your energy accumulating things that will lessen your fear, or that you think will lessen your fear and your anxiety. And usually those things are external. They are outside of you. These things are material things. And I think what you will come to find is that even in search of these things, it's just never enough. So you can never have enough money to feel completely stable, because even when you have a lot of money, you still think about the very many ways that you could lose the money, or the very many ways that you could lose the friends that you have accumulated because you have all of this money, or even losing the support of the people that you have support from because of the money that you have, or the things that you have, or the power that you might have. So I think it's just never enough. It's never enough. The most important lesson here for me is just to realize that you are more than what you put energy into, especially if it's material things or things outside of you. I think the value is not even, I know that you should come to a point where you realize that the value is within you. The value is here, inside, deep down inside. And it's not based on things that you can accumulate outside of you. What's important here is how you think about yourself, what you feed your subconscious mind, what you feed your conscious mind, and not what you can achieve physically. There's definitely a focus on making an effort to uncover and to rid oneself of limiting beliefs, actions, behaviors, and even traumas. So there's going to be a lot of time, and it's going to take a long time for you to get to that point. But when you do get to that point, that's when you find yourself being excited to be alive. And I think that's also why a lot of Saturnian people, or people with a lot of Capricorn energy, only start being young or experience being themselves to the fullest as they get older, because they have not yet dealt with the amounts of responsibilities that they have been given, the traumas that they have been exposed to, reparenting themselves, and all of these other issues that they have dealt with. And that's all I've got for you, my tubers. A reminder, tubers, to take what resonates and leave the rest. I always hope to bring clarity in the understanding or study of astrology, and I hope you have understood a little bit more about planets in the first house. Until my next video, on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, which placements you actually have, and if they're your fave or not, and your experiences with these placements. So show me some love and subscribe to my channel if you'd like, and feel I've brought value to your understanding of astrology. As always, your time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do, so keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light. I'm out.